And boom goes the dynamite.
Hello, and welcome to Daily Dive. Once again, filling in for our wonderful host, Renee Washington, I am producer Michael Carvelis saying, let's dive into some lacrosse today, why don't we? Our top story is presented by Daily Dive Store, found on the link tree in our social media bios. You can get beanies, hoodies, you name it. Support the only Monday through Friday live lacrosse talk show. And as I mentioned, Renee Washington once again is not here. We missed yesterday's show. There are other things that we can do besides this show, obviously. This show is not our job, although we wish it was. So shout out to Renee, who does an awesome job. We hope to see her back next week. And what is our top story? Well, it's been a Vancouver Warriors type of week, has it not? The Vancouver Warriors have hired Joel McCready as Senior Director of Lacrosse Operations. Joel, of course, I'm calling him Joel. Joel played 6 seasons with the Vancouver Stealth and the Warriors. So it's only right that even though he's 34 years old, somebody who's kind of homegrown, if you will, because that's when his career took off, was 3 or 4 years in, he joined the Vancouver Stealth, and his point totals went up dramatically. Now, again, he is younger for a senior director of lacrosse operations, and we can speculate on this as well, that he might have been the one to have dealt Mitch Jones. The reason I say that is because yesterday, Joel McCready's wife on Instagram, part of her story said, oh, looks like my hubby is already making moves on his first day. If you know, you know. And as we know later on that day, yesterday, they would announce that he has been hired as Senior Director of Lacrosse Operations. So it is interesting when you look at, is Keegan Ball next? Because Keegan Ball has been with Vancouver, and he's 31 years old. He's been with Vancouver for a long time now. And one has to wonder, do you need a completely new team? If Mitch Jones can just be dumped off like that on his first day, if that is the case, we do have to speculate and look from a distance and say, hey, Keegan Ball, you might be next. And rightfully so. Keegan Ball, even though he's 31 years old, it's still in your athletic prime, technically. You can still make some plays, as Keegan Ball has been doing this year. He's got 33 points. Mitch Jones was actually first in points this year with 35. And so I can only imagine that Keegan Ball is next. It is interesting that the team has allowed 111 goals. I mentioned that on yesterday's show. But they had a defender in Steph Charbonneau already for Mitch Jones. And, of course, those 2 pivotal draft picks. Can you imagine what you could get for Keegan Ball? I know Mitch Jones is a very good player, but I wonder if you can get more for Keegan. Like, that's an honest assessment from me. And really, another part of this, why do I think they should get rid of Keegan? It's not because Keegan's not a good player, because this is the 3rd time Vancouver's been a franchise. We know the Ravens, the Stealth, and now the Warriors. And sometimes it's just nice for some new voices. You don't want anything to do with the old regime, because apparently it was not working at all. And as I mentioned yesterday, you can finger point of whose fault it is, whether it be the goalie or the front office, whoever it is. The point is, you all were losing. And sometimes that's not fair, but that's just how fans in reality views things, okay? So shout out to Joel McCready on getting this job. He obviously cares about this because, again, I've mentioned this before. Lacrosse players, and I'm sure their front office people, do not get paid as much as the regular sports people do, like the NBA, the NFL, the MLB. So it is only good that you have a homegrown product like a Joel McCready, who played for 6 seasons, who had very good, productive 6 seasons. And again, if what his wife said is true about Mitch Jones, as she kind of took a stab at that, you have to wonder, is Keegan Ball next? Now, what's interesting is the Warriors also signed Aaron Bold, who has been in 4 championship appearances, 2 with Edmonton, 2 with Saskatchewan. This is interesting because the Warriors goalie right now, one of the 2, Aiden Walsh, for over 247 minutes, has a negative 25.20 GSAA per Ty Merrow of lacrosse metrics, I believe, which is last by double the guy in front. So it's not a good look for Aiden Walsh. The broadcasters were mentioning this past weekend, he looked lost, and it was sad to see. So they do bring in this Aaron Bold guy who has a career 7.68 save percentage. That'll work, right? Now, if there's any kind of skepticism to this, is that Aaron Bold's last season with Halifax last year saw only a 69.8 save percentage. Not fantastic. It's actually pretty average, if not below average. So the goalie situation still has to get into place. But the fact that you already added Steph Sharp, a defender, have those 2 draft picks, add another goalie, maybe he's the voice in the locker room that we were talking about yesterday. So we'll have to see. But coming up next, we have a team that has a pretty good goalie in Alex Bouquet. We have one of their players from the Saskatchewan Rush, Marshall Powless, joining the show next here on Daily Dive. Don't go anywhere. We got to pick his brain because they play the Warriors this weekend, so that should be some fun talk. I said it's a Warriors weekend, guys. I'll be right back to Daily Dive. Welcome back to Daily Dive, everybody. We've got our big guest presented by Fanatics, of course. Go to the link tree in our bios and click the Fanatics logo to shop NLL merch. I'm talking to you, Saskatchewan Rush fans, because we've got Marshall Powless on the show. Marshall, how are you, sir? Oh, should I say that one more time? Make sure we can hear you.
I'm doing good. How are you? Yeah.
Awesome. I'm doing great, Marshall. It's good to have you on the show, and thank you so much for joining the Daily Dive. I wish Renee could have been here, but of course, as I mentioned before, she could not. But thanks so much for joining me, at least. So we got to get into this because it's one of the hot topics right now in lacrosse. It's for a good cause, though. It's Every Child Matters. I wanted to first get your take on Every Child Matters, how you and your teammates and the Saskatchewan Rush organization helps out with this initiative.
Yeah. So I think wearing our Every Child shirts brings awareness to the crowd, as well as if they have any questions, they can dive further into if they want to learn more about it. And also we have our Every Child well. So I think with the Rush doing that, does their part and does our part ending. And like I said, if anybody wants to further their education, I'd be proud to educate them.
And I'm sure you've got some teammates, of course, who are part of Native American heritage as well, which I'm sure helps that fact as well. I got to talk to them now about the games of lacrosse, and thank you for talking about Every Child Matters, by the way. Those shirts are awesome, by the way. I'm sure you guys enjoy them as well. Pretty cool orange on those things, right?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so you guys had a great win in Saskatoon against the Desert Dogs. And we have to ask now, you guys are playing a new look, for lack of a better term, Vancouver Warriors squad this weekend, who, of course, will not have Mitch Jones. Everything's going south for them. But how do you guys take a road game in Vancouver and not look past it and get another win under your belt?
Yeah. So obviously, we needed that win last weekend. Again, no matter what they have on the floor, we just gotta not take them lightly, and I think it'll be a good game for us to, actually work our system and keep us rolling, and then hopefully we can keep this going all the way through the season.
I agree with that. And last week against the Desert Dogs is I hate to do this because I know like no team in the NLL is just like a walk in the park, but that team has to be surprising knowing because you're in your second year now. You've played some good teams and bad teams, but it is surprising seeing the Desert Dogs play so well and fight so hard this early in their expansion.
Like I said, we can't take any team lightly, and I think we had a bit of a slow show because we were down 3-1 after the first quarter. And then we had to pull up our side, and after we saw that we can't just walk all over them. Once we figured that out, we were able to put the ball in the net and win the.
Awesome and great win for you guys. It's good to have the home fans rooting for you guys. And you guys have had a great year so far. So let's talk about you now. At just 22 years old, this is always crazy for me because I'm 26. I'm like, what am I doing here? Hosting a lacrosse show. You're actually playing the dang sport. So you're already in your second NLL season. And last season played 7 games, had 13 points. In 5 games, you've eclipsed, actually 6 games now, you've eclipsed that points mark. How have you grown as a player? What has helped you, whether it be the organization, their teammates, your own personal work ethic? What has helped you to be a better lacrosse player already in year 2 at just 22 years old?
Having teammates to back me up and actually have confidence in me. The coaches that really boost my self-esteem, and then also putting on some working out in the off season, and putting in that work, confidence as well. So now I play like I'm not afraid to make mistakes if I forward. But now, like last season, I was always kind of playing to my full potential. But this year I'm just comfortable in the league now.
That's got to be awesome. Was lacrosse your first sport? Like, or were you, I know like kids in Canada they play hockey as well, but when did you realize NLL was a reality for you? How young were you?
Yeah, so I started playing sport. My older brother Johnny, he got drafted to the NLL, to the Rochester Nighthawks, and then that was my first ever pro game I went to. And after I seen the first game, I was like, okay, this is where I want to play. I want to be. So I went every game, pretty much every home game that I got home, and I really watched the game, and I didn't like I would be there. I actually watched and seeing that they're actually doing systems and stuff like that. So I'd ask them about it. It helped me out in the backyard. So I think probably is that I wanted to play in the NLL.
That's got to be awesome. I have never been to a barn. I know they've got to be awesome. I look at their only just watching from the ESPN Plus perspective, it looks so electric. So I can only imagine saying, "Hey, that's my brother," and man, I could be pretty good at this too. So awesome! Thank you for sharing that with us here. So I had to before I let you go. I know lacrosse players are busy, and again, I appreciate you coming on. I'm going to throw a little surprise question at you here. You tweeted out less than a day ago that someone was telling you a joke on the Desert Dogs because the Rush team was like, "Hey, what you thinking about over there, Marshall?" Can you tell us that joke, or was it a little bit too PG-13 or R-rated?
And while we were running, he's we gotta be. He's like, you guys gotta be running all the players on the floor, and they're all in certain spots. So he's like, don't run around me. I'm an old man. It was pretty funny.
That's gonna be awesome. I'm sure. Like I love those little. I wish we had mic'd up in the NLL. I'm sure you do too, because those things make sports so much more fun. I can only imagine what goes on with lacrosse players balancing life and the sport. And again, thank you so much, Marshall Powless, for joining the show. Let's go Rush, and I hope you guys get a big win against a Warriors team. It's reeling, but still, as you said, no walk in the park. Thank you, Marshall, once again for joining.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Marshall Powless, everybody. That was fun. That story about the about your brother being drafted. Well, I should have known that. Your brother being drafted, and of course Marshall going to the game, seeing that in person. I'm sure that's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be sweet. I mean, I know athletics run in the family sometimes, and obviously his family is no exception to that rule. But just great job. And again, 22 years old. What am I doing at just 26? That was great to have Marshall on. We appreciate him and, of course, everyone involved in making that interview happen. When I come back, though, it's our last brew presented by B-Res Coffee Company. We're talking goalies, including where's Dylan Ward? Have an update for you. You might not want to hear if you're a Mammoth fan. We'll be right back. We know the Monday to Friday grind can feel long, but our friends at B-Riz Coffee Company are here to give you that extra boost of energy. With a ton of blends to choose from, including new flavors, B-Riz Coffee is sure to elevate your daily routine, and it's our go-to coffee now on the Daily Dive. To check it out for yourself, go click the link in our bio and get yourself a sample pack. Don't forget to use the promo code DailyDive when checking out. Thanks to our friends at B-Res Coffee Company for making this last segment, Last Brew, possible. I want to first get a recap of what the show's been about so far. In the first segment, of course, we talked about the Vancouver Warriors adding Joel McCready, a 34-year-old director of lacrosse operations, senior director of lacrosse operations, and technically making the first trade already with Mitch Jones, meaning is kicking ball untouchable. Also, the team did sign Aaron Bold, who might have been the veteran presence in the locker room, the goalies, Aiden Walsh and Steve Fryer might have needed. Our big guest presented by Fanatics was Marshall Powless of the Saskatchewan Rush. It was awesome to hear him talk about not taking teams lightly and also about having his brother play in the NLL and how that made his dream become a pretty close reality. And shout out to Marshall, when he's just 22 years old in his second season already in the NLL, looking good. His teammates having confidence in him. It's got to feel awesome, especially when a guy like Mark Matthews are right by your side as your teammate. All righty. Last brew presented here by B-Res Coffee Company is Nick Rose for MVP. I have been on this show campaigning for guys like Rylan Hartley, who does what we call the split save, which is absolutely incredible. But really, there's a guy, according to advanced stats by Ty Merrow, might need our consideration. And we actually had him on the show. That's right, Nick Rose of Toronto Rock. Listen to this. Nick Rose has a GSAA of 18.96. Second place on that list is Matt Vince at 10.93. What? I knew that Nick Rose had been playing very well this year, but seeing it broken down by awesome people like Ty Merrow and even Cooper Perkins, who bring the advanced stats, it really brings into reality how great these players are. And Toronto Rock, I don't know how they've lost 2 games. I really don't. That team is really good. Tom Schreiber, I've campaigned, might be an MVP candidate. But my apologies to Nick Rose for not giving him more credit on this show. Nick Rose has looked incredible, has looked locked down in the nets, and sometimes that helps. And they played 6 or 7 games, so it's not like they've got a 4-game sample size. This is who this team is, and part of who this team is Nick Rose. Rosie. I love that stat by Ty Merrow, by the way. Unfortunately, for comparison, Dylan Ward, who's actually third on that list, at like 9.80, I believe. Dylan Ward was MIA in Colorado as our Daily Dive game of the week got snubbed by the people at the Colorado Mammoth who decided that it was cool to just not update the injury reports. Why is this significant? I know it was only like 9-13 and Seals could have lost the game, but let's be 100% honest with ourselves. How are sports growing at this moment in time? How are leagues growing? Can you go through one football game or basketball game without seeing 20 ads for sports betting? No, you cannot. And as frustrating as the NBA may be sometimes with their sports report, with their injury reporting, they're never this late. You have to check an hour beforehand, but they are never this late. It was so egregious that Hudson Jackson of the Action Network, a producer for them, pretty big place to bet, was not happy with it in a tweet that he mentioned. I will have him on the show tomorrow to talk about that and, of course, break down some more awesome NLL action and betting previews. But if you are going to grow this sport, these teams must be held accountable because that right there cannot fly ever again. The NLL is creating awesome publicity through ESPN Plus and, of course, TSN. They are not the PLL yet. But if you want sharper lines and you want more people to watch this sport, give them something to invest in. Most people out there do not have favorite teams or players right now because lacrosse has been under the covers for quite some time now. And lacrosse is finally breaking free. The NLL is in a great arena. I love this sport. And yet people can have nothing to invest in because they don't have a favorite team. They're going to try to put their money in it, right? And then Dylan Ward happens. It's not Dylan Ward's fault. I don't know who to blame on the Colorado Mammoth. But somebody dropped the ball in a big way. And I'm pretty sure it was planned. You know, it's not like the San Diego Seals were the Vancouver Warriors. No disrespect to Vancouver, but let's be 1,000% honest about this. The Seals were a good team, and you want every competitive advantage you can find. And one of them was not reporting an injury until the last minutes. That cannot happen ever again by any team in this league. And it's not like the NLL was not aware of this, that it could happen. The NLL before the season, we talked about it on this show, like a week before the season started. Renee mentioned that the NLL was going to start reporting injuries earlier so people could bet them the games. And now this happens in the prime of the season. Cannot happen again. As for Colorado Mammoth fans, what is the injury? It has been speculated that it's a hand injury. And he's also on the injured list, by the way. So it's not like he just didn't play. He's on the injured list, and it still is not off of it as of January 28th. It's now February the 2nd. Yeah, that's a problem. And if you think the injury is just something simple, he was wearing a hockey blocker in practice. I think they knew about this far before they reported this. There is no way it was that coincidental that they had to report at the last minute. And again, that cannot happen again. Again, sports betting is an amazing part of sports growing, whether you like it or not. The major sports leagues no longer have this problem. Again, the NBA, even an hour before, you can check that kind of stuff. So it's only right that the LLL follows suit if they want to take the next step in growing the game as everyone talks about. I would love to see it. I hope it does not happen again. But I think the league should. I don't know if they got fined. I don't know. Obviously, the reporting in the NLL is not fantastic. But we have to wonder if behind the scenes was Brett Frood and people up top saying, hey, let's not do that again. Because again, Action Network producer Hudson Jackson, that's a pretty big deal if he comments on that. We'll talk to him tomorrow and ask him about it. But thanks so much to everyone for tuning into the show. Again, shout out to the Vancouver Warriors for getting their guy and signing a goalie in the process. Shout out to Marshall Powless for coming on the show and taking time out of his busy day to talk to us about some pretty good stories, I'd say, for himself and, of course, for the Rush and having that confidence. And also, Nick Rose. Got to give you more credit, man. Thanks for joining the show the other week as well. And, of course, Dylan Ward. Best of wishes to the recovery. Of course, is the end-all, be-all at that point. But for our host, Renee Washington, and everyone involved with Daily Dive, and Marshall Powless, our guest, I'm Michael Carvel saying so long. Have a great day. Don't forget to follow Daily Dive on social media at Daily Dive Lax. That's Daily Dive LAX. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And, of course, click our link tree for our great sponsors. Have a great day, everybody. See you tomorrow.